There was much excitement this week when the IPCC released their latest frenzy about global warming, or to put it in calm and cool-headed scientific terms, code red for humanity. Naturally, the world's and of course the Australian media went into a fever of climate change excitement with all sorts of headlines predicting all sorts of apocalyptic doomsdays scheduled for, well, sometime in the future if we don't act now. And to do so, we have to dismantle capitalism, by the way. Indeed, it was the Australian's Graham Lloyd, an apolitical reporter on climate change, who we have had on this show in the past, who was quick to point out that the IPCC's report was as much a political document as a scientific one, and, quote, that from a scientific perspective, the report does not draw any startling new conclusions. Rather, he wrote, the report is a vehicle for breathless prophecies of a looming Hadean future. And what will that future look like? Well, The Guardian opted for images of the floods in Germany this summer. Here are some cars stranded on das Autobahn. Ja, scheiße. Not mentioning, of course, that Central Europe has a long history of such floods. Indeed, in the summer floods of 1910, there were over 1,200 deaths when the river Ahr flooded in Germany. Still, no doubt, the flooded Autobahn pics scared the kiddies witless about what the future holds for them. Closer to home, the Financial Review used this photo to demonstrate the effects of catastrophic climate change getting worse in Australia, saying that coastal towns across Australia, including Byron Bay, have been hit by rising tides, washing away beaches in front of multi-million-dollar properties, and that residents at Collaroy on Sydney's northern beaches have had to pay for the construction of a 1.3-metre seawall to protect their homes at an average cost of $282,000 per resident. Scary stuff, unless, of course, you're a Northern Beaches wall builder. But, as any Sydneysider knows, this same stretch of beach, which sits coincidentally just north of Zali Steggall's electorate of Warringah, an Aboriginal word which means, as I'm sure Zali knows, rain, waves and sea, this stretch of beachfront from Collaroy to Narrabeen has always been hit by massive waves from the sea, often during times of heavy rain. We call it erosion, but the original inhabitants called it Warringah, rain, sea and waves. Here is Collaroy Beach in 1920, over 100 years ago, nothing to do with climate change, being hit by Warringah, sea, waves and rain. And here it is again in 1966, being hit by more Warringah, sea, waves and rain. And more recently, here is the famous shot from the same beachfront in 1978 when Zali Steggall was a young nipper, so she should remember it, being hit by, more Warringah, sea, waves and rain. And here we see a group of local firefighters helpfully putting out the sandbags at Collaroy Beach in 2016 to hold back the Warringah, the sea, waves and rain. And here we see them pretty much the exact same spot back in 1945, holding back the Warringah, the sea, waves and rain. The lesson to be taken from all of this is not to stop mining coal or to start pushing water uphill in Jindabyne, but rather, if you're going to live on Collaroy Beach, build a bloody wall. Perhaps jealous of all the attention the IPCC were getting, the climate-preaching National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, or NOAA, leapt into the fray, excitedly declaring that July was the hottest month ever recorded on Earth, according to the Daily Mail. Wow, big call. You know, I'm sure there was a pretty hot July when temperatures reached around 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit about 54 billion years ago. But anyway, according to the Conservative Woman website, a bit of diversity there for you on Ice Age Watch, according to Conservative Woman, the data shows July was not really all that extraordinary after all. They cite the Central England Temperature Series, the long-running, high-quality data set which has been carefully pieced together over many years which reveals last month was only the 21st hottest July since records began in 1878, based on daily maximum temperatures. And according to this chart from the Global Temperature Report put out by the Earth System Science Center at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, showing monthly global troposphere anomalies from 1991 to 2021, global temperatures are no higher now than they were 20 years ago. The hottest July ever, or just more climate hype? After all, there's nothing hotter than July.